Hey Leo, welcome to Hangin with Leo. This is street level spirituality, and this format is kind of a kick back and chill. We're going to use tarot, astrology, a little intuition, and kind of just tune in a little bit to what's going on with you towards the end of this year, end of October, November, and December, moving into an entire new decade, 2020. There's the big astrological movement is coming. We've got a couple things. We have December 26th. We have a solar eclipse that falls. Well, for you, it's all relative to your ascendant, but it trines your sun sign, which is cool. That's a lot of great opportunity for you. And then we have the big Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn transit conjunction where they come right over each other, and so that's going to be huge. I think more. I mean, personally, it'll affect us all, but I think it's just going to be a really big thing out there in the world with government and people and politics and all that crap. So we'll see a lot of interesting stuff coming up here as we get to the end of the year. But up until then, there's we're just going to look at kind of what's going on with you. Now, astrologically, you're kind of scot-free. You don't have any planets really in your house, in Leo right now. And we don't really have any planets opposing Leo right now. So you don't really have any particular tensions. You might have some, depending on your ascendant, you might have some relative placements of things that affect you personally. But as far as being a Leo sun sign, nothing big there. The only things I could really talk to you about astrologically is that you have a nice trine coming in with that solar eclipse on December 26th. Solar eclipses are endings and beginnings, doors closing and doors opening. So, we just went through one back in August, opened up a new cycle, which you should be deep in the middle of right now. And this cycle that you're in right now, which is really interesting, is I pulled a card for you just to get a general nature of your reading at the beginning, and you got the Magician. The Magician is card number 1. It's the beginning of creation. It has all the elements there with the pentacles, the cups, the wands, and the swords. And they're all the resources that we utilize to create here in the material world. So the Magician is kind of like this soul that came into the earth and has all the resources and tools to move forward. What it involves is to make sure that we're clear about planning and organization, and that we're clear about what we're creating, because everything that we create takes a lot of focus, a lot of energy. And when we invest our energy, we want to do it wisely. We want to do it without ego. We want to focus on what the goal is and understand that it takes dedication and hard work to bring something to fruition. So I'm just going to say this, is that, I would say that you're kind of the golden child right now, coming into this end of this decade. You have all the resources available to you. It's all about just sitting down and making a plan and taking action on it. The universe is kind of leaving you alone a little bit. When we do have the solar eclipse on the 26th, Jupiter's trining your sign, so that creates even more abundance. You're in quite a fortunate place right now, and so it's just about getting focused and utilizing this time, because we don't always have these windows available to us to really manifest and create as fortunate as you can right now. So, how are you guys doing? Got the wind chimes banging outside because it's a little bit breezy tonight. I'm doing pretty good. I've just been hanging out, doing a lot of cleaning and organizing around here, working on some videos, and just chilling. So like I was talking about the format, this is kind of more of a long form format, hanging out, chilling. If you guys have any feedback, want to communicate with me, just drop some stuff in the comments. We can talk. So what we'll do, since there's not really a ton astrologically speaking right now, Actually, I do want to. I will speak to you about one other thing, but it's more long term. But it's a big transit, and it's an important transit, I think, to be aware of, even though it's probably 6 years away for you. You have Pluto coming up. It's about a half a house away, and it moves so slow. It could be about 6 years or so. I don't know the exact date. 5 to 6 years, you'll start feeling it. It's Pluto's coming up, and it's opposing. It will be opposing your sign, Leo. When that happens, there's really major transformations that occur in your life. It all depends on what your ascendant is and where it sits. So it'll transform whatever aspect of your house. So now, if your Leo is in the first house and you happen to have a Leo ascendant also, which is pretty rare, it would be affecting your relationships with other people. If it was in your opposite your second house, it would be opposing your house of resources, in your houses, in the house, the eighth house of other people's resources. And so it's important to understand what your ascendant is and what is on the other side of Leo in your chart, and understand what the house is. But Pluto, what it does is it comes in and it annihilates everything. Annihilates everything you know about that. So, and I've been going through this. I have a Cancer ascendant, so Pluto's been up in my seventh house of relationships for the last 6 years, and it's absolutely just annihilated them. So anything I used to feel like I could get away with, anything I was kind of ignorant in regarding to relationships, has been completely transformed. My behavior, how I relate to people, understanding relationships are a gift, not to take them for granted, how to develop relationships, how to communicate in relationships, all that stuff is just, schooling 101. So, it's the only reason I wanted to mention that to you is that you have the time right now to kind of look into, what sign that's going to be in. So it's basically what you do is you open up your astrological chart. You would look at what house your sun is in. Obviously, you're a Leo, so it's going to be in Leo. But what house it's in, maybe it's the third house, maybe it's the seventh house, maybe it's the 11th house, I don't know. And then look to the opposite side of your chart and see what sign that is and see what house it's in, primarily what house it is, because that house will tell you the theme of the transformation. So again, mine was in the seventh house, so that was relationships. Then look, if you don't know, look up that house number and read about it, because that's where you're going to have major transformation that can be really painful as things get fractured apart and then reorganized. And if you take the time to look at what the theme is of that house right now, then as that starts to develop over the next so many years, you can mitigate the amount of suffering, or challenge that might have for you in your life. It's not a negative thing that's, punishing you. It's literally just making sure that you're kind of expressing yourself from your highest self and with the highest values in regard to that theme in your chart. So if you have any questions, you can reach out, you can ask questions. If you're confused, or if you want some feedback on, just let me know what that house your sun is in, and then we can talk about it in the comments or whatever. So anyway, so that's coming up. It's a number of years away, but Pluto's always somewhere for someone. When it goes directly across from your sun sign, then it's kind of opposing your true nature, and it just becomes a little more significant than just being in kind of an off house, transforming you in other ways. This just becomes more personal. So anyway, intense stuff. And that also means that depending on how old you are, oh gosh, I guess if you're around 40, that means you've already had this experience of Pluto in your natal sun, the house that your sun is when you were born. or if you're over 40, that means you experienced it at some point in your youth. So there could be some return themes. Anyway, that's coming up. Long time away, but it's really powerful stuff. So, anywho, in regard to the rest of this, I think astrologically, that's really it. I mean, you're in this kind of home free zone. You have Jupiter coming up in December, blessing you. I'm going to have a sip. We're hanging out, right? This is a flavored bubbly water with a little bit of vitamin water in it. It's really good. Very refreshing. I really like drinks. Anyway, keeping it casual. Hope you don't mind. So, the Magician, resources. So that's your general theme. I'll show it to you. It's you. That's you doing cool stuff. Making stuff. Do it, Leo. See all the tools? Yeah. All right. So, already shuffled, already tuned in a little bit. Some of the other signs I've done up until now are, some challenges. But I just feel like you're doing good. Everyone's going to have kind of some, obviously, personal stuff. This is very general for Leo. I'm looking to the common denominators, and I'm trying to avoid doing any kind of astrological predictions that are relative to your, ascendant, because most astrologers, they say, oh, Leo, here's a reading for you, but they're assuming that all the planets they're talking about is assuming that you have a Leo ascendant. That's how you're able to see what planets are in which houses. So it can be confusing. In most astrological readings, you really should be reading your ascendant sign, not your sun sign, because then it gives you proper context to your planets. So I'll kind of avoid that, stick mostly with the tarot and kind of anything relating to your sun sign, and then this will be more appropriate for Leos in general. Not misguiding, All right, so let's get into your reading here. The Magician, Leo the Magician, creating stuff. Oh, stuff jumping out here. I just got back into doing my readings. Over the past couple of years, I have a whole other career. This isn't my focus. I'm not doing this for money or advertising or anything like that. I'm doing it because it's. I have a Pisces full moon, and I've had a couple psychics tell me the last couple of years, like, do your tarot. So I'm just kind of getting back into it and making videos and connecting, and it's part of my growth about trying to be a little more authentic. And I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. And if you can, give us a subscribe. I guess it helps get it out there. I don't know why it's important outside of just maybe more people see it. I mean, I guess I would like to get to a point where I'm doing maybe some personal readings here and there, supplementing my income, things like that. So if anyone's interested in a reading, I could do pretty affordably, maybe at the beginning, and kind of just do some trials. And I'm not going to put any ads on these videos. Or it's like recently I was watching some videos, tarot and astrology videos. It was like, God, man, it was like 10 ads or something like that. It's like, ugh. And I understand people need to make a living, but trying to when I watch videos, I like to kick back, relax, and put it on and not get bothered by it, Anyway, so we're just hanging out, right? Chilling. Gotta hang out with myself a lot. I don't know about you guys. What are you up to? We kind of live in a little bit of a small town. I used to live in Los Angeles. I lived in bigger towns, but I don't know. It's weird. Just a lot of spiritual growth. I used to date a lot, but I don't know, man. It just freaks me out. I guess it's just good to wait for the right person, right? All right, so let's look at what's going on here. We have nature of the reading, what's influencing it, what's in the spiritual realms, what's in the subconscious realms below you. And we have your attitude about the situation, your environment, and then the completion. And, you know, it's like, when I say you're like the golden child of, you know, astrology right now, or of the signs, your completion card is the Three of Pentacles. It's like master craftsman, you know. And when we talk about the nature of the reading being focused around the magician and having the tools and resources to create from, I mean, you are the master craftsman. So you have everything you need. Now, along the way to get there, let's just kind of look over what the themes are a little bit, and we can tune in, because there might be some information. And this can be kind of multidimensional, meaning it can affect you on the physical world, it can affect you in your mental world, it can affect you in your emotional world, it can affect you in your relationships with divinity, or the higher values, the aspirational aspects of our intuition and consciousness. And it can affect us in the material world, or the mother, or the earth, or the subconscious realms, which acts intuitively and is always very primal in its needs. So when I say multidimensional, that's what that means. And when people say multidimensional, that's what that means. It means there's these multiple levels of awareness and consciousness occurring, being filtered through our bodies, you know, and our consciousness and our experience at one time. And we can kind of tap to these different levels just by focusing on different levels. So that's all that multidimensional means. It doesn't mean like something like foofy or rainbowy or weird or anything like that. It's literal, it's factual, it's what we're experiencing. All right. So it's whatever you're creating right now, it's something you're creating. It's not something that someone's going to come to you and give it to you, and you know that, and it's fine. And it's not. No one's going to give it to you. No one's going to create it for you. No one's going to make it fair or right or wrong. It's just really in your lap. So it's up to you and your divinity. Now let's look at your the divinity coming down, or the aspirational aspect. And what we have is we have the Page of Wands. We have this fresh, youthful energy that's kind of looking at this wand and saying, what can I create with this? What foundation can I construct with this? So you're, you know, to take some time to maybe meditate and reflect. And all that means is just to close your eyes, take a deep breath, clear your mind, and observe your natural inclinations, your natural inspirations, and you'll have a message there from a divine source. It's getting quiet and listening, and you'll get the inspiration you need, or the clarity you need to be able to move forward with whatever this is that you'd like to be creating right now. In the subconscious realms, it's kind of interesting, it kind of mirrors it, is that we have the reverse Knight of Wands. And you know, this is like the journey, you know, this fast forward, you know, journey forward. It's not a fast journey. We're not abrupt about this. We're taking our time and being patient and doing our homework and our diligence to make sure that we're doing something correct. So that's kind of, in the subconscious realms, it's important to, I guess what I'm getting out of this is it's just important to be patient through a process and to see something through. No one's bringing this to you. This is completely on you. This is completely your inspiration, and it's completely your responsibility to take the time to organize yourself, get structured, and start to manifest and create out there in the world. Now, this is starting to make a little more sense, is that in your recent past, you have the Five of Wands, which can be a lot of like conflicting ideas around creation, or you know, it's like artist differences, or you know, different views about trying to create something. You have all these people with wands who are ready to build something, but no one can agree on the structure. So you just end up with this mess. So I think that that's what I'm getting out of this, is that you may have gone through a process before where you tried to create something and you weren't necessarily getting the support you wanted, or your vision for something. I mean, you're a Leo, so you're going to have a strong vision, a strong independent vision about something. I think the message what I'm getting here is that your strong independent vision is appropriate, but you just need to take the time to be patient and structured in how you go about creating your master creation, whatever this is for yourself. It could be a job, you could be writing a book, you could be working on some music, you could be, getting into an engineering program, some kind of healthcare or yoga program, whatever it is that you're creating. Maybe you have your own course that you're creating, but taking the time and just knowing that this independent expression is totally appropriate and totally doable. You have everything you need right now, all the resources, everything's just kind of waiting for you. And then, like I said, come December, Jupiter is going to be just expanding. So it might be something where you want to just make sure you're in a planning phase throughout November. And then when you come into December, it's really hit the ground running strong. So when Jupiter kind of flies in and trines whatever that you're starting to get off the ground, just bubbles and grows. So I think that could be really powerful for you. Now, the only roadblock I could see here is, there's whatever this conflict was from the past, it might have affected you emotionally. Maybe it's a self-doubt thing, or somebody kind of like poo-pooed on your idea, or was negative about it, or whatever you're working on now is maybe a dream you've had for a long time, and there may have been a time where you didn't get the support you deserved, just at some point you may have lost a little bit of steam emotionally, or maybe even have a little self-doubt because of these things in the past. But just recognize that these feelings come from other people's negativity or lack of support that everybody deserves, or just conflicting views. Some people just see things differently. People have Mercury in different placements. They communicate differently. They see things differently. So just honor who you are and what you're doing. It's okay. You don't need to make anyone else happy. You don't have to do it anyone else's way. So your environment, it's okay. Yeah. So I'm seeing it. You're basically, you don't have the support around you to really, you're not feeling the support around you either from the past or your current environment. Your current environment is the Two of Wands reversed. It's this feeling of not being optimistic, not, looking towards the future. So, I just have a feeling that you might have something really beautiful emerging from within yourself, but in your media environment, you're not necessarily getting that feedback. So this is a real good time to be your own cheerleader. Really take the time to get excited about what you're doing. Really see the value. Really pinpoint the value in what you're doing. That's important, because if you can pinpoint the value in what you're doing, then you can move forward knowing why you're doing it, and no matter what anyone else says, you have that inspiration and that foundation and structure to work with as you move forward, and you can kind of get past any hurdles along the way. In your hopes and fears, it looks like the hopes and fears is that you might get a surprise, either a good or bad surprise along the way that can either help or be of detriment, but that you might not know the difference. You might not be able to be a good judge of character when choosing a business partner, or a good judge. There might be a mistake that's unforeseen along the way. So that's kind of like your greatest fears, and your greatest hopes is that you might have surprises, and you might have opportunities come, to really support this. So, just don't get too wrapped up in, what can happen on the positive or the negative, and just stay focused on what the value of what you're creating is, and be your own cheerleader. So that's the main thing here. And then at the end, like I said, you have the Three of Pentacles. It's a master craftsman. You have the support, you have the education, you have the network of it's attracting the people who are just as powerful as you, that level of education, all that. So, and maybe as you get closer to finishing your masterpiece, that's when the real support will come in, because people will start to be able to see it, and people who understand what you're doing and the value of what you're doing are really going to start showing up. So, depending on what you're doing, for some people that could be an investor. For other people, it could just be getting the accolades for their hard work. So pretty straightforward. I mean, golden child of the zodiac right now. Leo's kicking butt. Leo's making it happen. You got some really great fortunate stuff coming up with Jupiter trining you on December 26th. And, God, this is the time when you really take advantage of the opportunities. And the only thing that's going to get in your way here is focusing on, what other people are saying, or past negativities or self-doubts or anything like that. Just screw all that stuff and focus on the value of what you're creating. As long as it has value, you can succeed with proper planning and patience and follow through. So that's it. That's your reading. And good luck with the rest of the year. Hope to see whatever you're creating. It's a beautiful time for you guys. And I hope to talk to you soon. All right, take care.